Hey, this is Adam. I'm into running events and things for BattleTech. If you live in Perth, Western Australia, you've probably heard of me. If you've never been there, here's a nice picture of Perth from the Kings Park. Apparently we have our own spaceport. Can't tell you if that's true 100%. What I can tell you is that alphastrike.com.au has a whole bunch of BattleTech stuff you can buy online. They're in Perth, but they ship all over the country. Tabletop Gamers Association. They work closely with this club. Never been? Go check it out. Lots of pictures on their website. Well, you came here looking for some BattleTech Alpha Strike action reports, and you're going to get one. This one is from Brush Wars, a one-day 2014 Alpha Strike BattleTech tournament. There are 4 players. It was only small, but it was good. And as you can see, some of the paint jobs that the guys did on their forces were absolutely amazing. As far as force compositions were concerned, the majority of people took veteran skill levels, except for this guy here. Just battle mechs, average pilots, just wanted to see how it would go. In fact, probably his, I believe, second game.
Round 1. Fight!
Okay, so here we see the table layout for the first round. As you can see, there wasn't a lot of terrain for this one. The first round was basically just a stand-up fight. It gave players a chance to see how their force actually went on the battlefield, gave them a bit of a chance to see what their first opponent was using. Chances are they would be facing this opponent again, so it's a good idea just to see what they're packing against them. And as it stood, only 2 of the players ended up taking aerospace forces, and the way it worked with the draw is those 2 players actually went up first. Basically, they weren't exactly sure how they were going to go against one another. In the end, they ended up just getting into a big dogfight up above in the sky. Didn't actually get to do any strafing runs, bombing runs and things like that. They felt that it would just be easier if they just tried and gain air superiority first and then bring whatever forces they could down onto the battlefield and see if that made a difference. Unfortunately, they ended up getting locked up for the whole game, so the first round for those guys, the battle was actually decided on the ground with just ground forces. As for the players on the other table, well, the newbie, I tell you what, he must have been a Lyran Commonwealth general in a previous life, because he just lined up his assault mechs there and he just started laying waste to everything. There were mech craters everywhere on the other side, above average target numbers to hit, and he was nailing it. Unbelievable.
Round 2. Fight!
Okay, so here we are at the second round. We've got a player on each table with aerospace assets. The second round was basically to take the middle ground. Get as many forces as you can into the middle, and that's how you score. The battlefield consisted of heavy woods on one side and fairly open on the other. Flush with his first round victory, a wildcard player with his average pilots goes up against someone who has a bit of experience in the game. This player was well aware of how much firepower is going to come at him, so he ended up taking cover behind one of the buildings on the far side. This did give him a direct line to anything coming across to the middle of the grounds there, but basically just being able to use indirect fire, just bringing it in. He had spotters, he had fast moving spotters, VTOLs for him and things like that. He just brought it in and he just started chipping away, the mech started falling down. It was an excellent tactic, it worked well for him, and he ended up taking out that round with it, but it just shows just how good indirect fire is.
Round 3. Fight!
So here we are, the third and final round for the day. This scenario was interesting in the fact that you don't actually score for killing enemy units. Each side has buildings. Depending on how much damage you do to your opponent's buildings will dictate how many points you earn. You also lose points if he does damage to yours, so it becomes a bit of a decision. You know, do you just go after the buildings, or do you try to go after the enemy units so it slows down the damage he can do to your buildings? I wasn't quite sure how people were going to go with it. In this first game that you can see here, the Word of Blake player went up against our rising superstar here with his plethora of assault battle mechs. The Word of Blake player, he has to move forward quickly because he does most of his damage at short to medium range. Unfortunately, that meant that he sort of had to go into the firepower that was looking down on him. This was quite an interesting game. Unfortunately, the Word of Blake player, his dice rolls were atrocious. Like when he needed to hit, it just wasn't happening. And he was losing forces just simply on that. Yeah, it wasn't too fun for him at all, unfortunately. I feel bad for him. At the time of making this video where this tournament was going ahead, there was some discussion on the BattleTech forums about modifying the way movement's done in the Alpha Strike game. Basically, the way it's under the standard rules or whatever, you just even if you don't move, you'll still generate a target movement modifier. So assault mechs were generally very slow, they didn't generate anything, whereas your light mechs, even if they stand still, they were still very hard to hit. So one of the things they were looking at, and from what I believe it is actually going to be canon, is they had three types of movement. Stand still, which basically means you can't move, you can't even change your facing. You get a -2 bonus to your attack roll, so it makes it easier for you to hit your opponent, but you don't generate a target movement modifier at all. That'll be good for indirect fire or your assault mechs, who generally don't generate a high target movement modifier anyway. So, you know, once they get into position, they just stay there. Then there's also standard, which is you get a no bonus to hit. You get your full non-jump movement target movement modifier, so whatever your movement is, but you don't get a +1 even if you're jump capable. The only way to get that is if you do the third movement mode, which is jump. You do suffer a penalty if you jump. You have to add a +1 as a penalty to your attack roll, but you get your full non-jump movement modifier, but you also get the jump +1 target movement modifier on top of that. So we basically put it up as a vote to see if the players wanted to try it at the beginning of the tournament. They all agreed yes, they wanted to give it a try, and it did change the dynamics of the game. Not a lot, but it was good. I mean, the overall response to it was actually quite positive, so everyone was happy that they gave it a shot. Here we are on the other table, and with our Draconis Combine player having such great success with his indirect fire tactic from the previous round, he's set up shop behind his buildings, and as it just so happens, the enemy buildings are at long range, so having shot an immobile target gives him some bonuses, and with these modified variable movement rules that they were using, he also got some other bonuses from that. And that proved to be again quite effective. So in the end, we ended up having a winner. The Draconis Combine will be taking home the gold. Every player had a great time, and we're definitely looking to do it again. I had a great time. It was good to see that the BattleTech community and Alpha Strike is growing in Perth here. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Bye.